and then we went to Sevierville, Tennessee, and Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and spent the weekend. And that was probably the best year ever, because it was our very first cruise and our very first real vacation. And I remember being so proud of myself because I'd worked so hard to make that happen. Now, over the years, we've taken more vacations and gone to several different places. And, you know, I was a single parent for, all of their adult life. I became a single parent when they were about 11 months old, and I know the timeline doesn't quite work out, but I was married during that time. We didn't get divorced until 10 years later, so ergo I was married for 10 years. But I was still a single parent all that time, struggling and working hard. Now, here we are, as my children had gotten older, 12, 15, and 17. My son was almost grown. And I decided I was going to start dating again. So I did. I met a really great guy, and we became friends and got engaged and ended up getting married. And of course, 2 years later, it fell apart because what I didn't know at the time was he was on drugs. You know, he was what they call a functioning addict. He was the kind of person that would get up and go to work every day, very clean cut, very personable. And then once a month or so, he would go out and get high. And I couldn't understand that. And I tried so hard to stay with it. He went into drug rehab, and but he only did it to save the marriage. He didn't do it for himself because apparently he liked being that way. Well, I didn't like it, and I didn't like how it was affecting my family. And even though the girls were old enough, I didn't want to put them through that. They were old enough to understand what was going on, and I didn't want to put them through that, and I didn't want to put myself through it. So I divorced. So there I was, a single parent all over again. And I decided, okay, I'm not quite ready for this whole dating thing. I've made a disaster of it. I'm not going to do it again. And so I stayed single for the entire time, their teenage years, because I didn't want them to think it was okay to be around someone like that, to be around someone who did drugs or drank or smoked or lived a lascivious life. I didn't want them to think that that was okay. So I decided to be by myself. And in that time, I had to learn myself. And I switched careers, and I got into sales. And I became a salesman, and I sold appliances, and I was pretty good at it. And I made really great money, and I traveled all over the country doing it. And in the meantime, I'm still working through my finances. And then I went through a layoff, and I lost my job. And I was devastated because I lost my job. I couldn't afford my house any longer. And my house went into foreclosure. Now, I know now a lot of things that I could have done to keep that from happening. But at the time, I didn't know. And so my house was foreclosed on, and I ended up getting an apartment starting all over again in my career, working for minimum wage or just a little bit above minimum wage. But I had to start all over again, and that was a humbling experience. But I went through it because I wanted my children to see that you don't give up. You don't stop. You keep going, and you work through it, and things will get better. And they did. I started saving just like I did before, and I worked really hard at this new job, and I was promoted. It was great, because then I was able to buy a second house. And this next house, it was a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, split foyer. I like those. And it was out in the country, so we had plenty of space and plenty of privacy, and I had barbecues, and the kids would come over and bring their friends, and of course my house was always the go-to place to come and hang out. And the kids would come and talk to me because they knew that I was gonna be honest with them and let them know when they were doing wrong. And so years later, the kids are grown in their 30s now. Their friends still call me, still come around, still ask me questions when they're having a hard time in life. And in that time, I've started a business. I got tired of working for everybody else, and I decided I was going to start a business and do something that I knew how to do, and that was manage finances, budgeting. And I got myself in a position where I needed to work on my credit. Being a single parent, we do things for our kids that affects us financially, and not always in a positive way. And in my case, I had helped my children so much, it put me in a position where my credit score was in the toilet. Not as bad as some, but it wasn't as good either. I had a 570 credit score. And I thought, I'm working and I pay for everything that I want, so I wasn't in need of anything. But I also knew that I wanted to be able to buy another house, which the one that I had bought, the 4-bedroom, I sold it. Because the kids were grown, and I thought, well, I really don't need such a big house, so I sold it and got a condo, got an apartment. I rented it, I didn't buy it. But it came about a time where I thought, I really want a home. I want another house. But looking at my credit, I knew I'm not going to be able to get one. So I started looking at ways that I could fix my credit. And I started trying to do this on my own. And with working and trying to, help with the grandbabies and help with the children, I found that I didn't have enough time to do all the research and make all the adjustments and do everything that I needed to do to rebuild my credit. I didn't have time to write all the letters. I didn't have time to do make all the phone calls, to follow up with everything. And so in the meantime, I'd been doing this for about 2 years. and wasn't getting very far very fast because of everything else that I was doing. So I decided I need to find a company that's going to be able to help me. Now, I went through one company that claimed that they were going to be able to help me raise my credit score, and so I started with them, and I paid them like $1,500. And in a year's time, nothing happened. They didn't help me do one thing. Went to another company, a very well-known company who is supposed to be like the best in the industry, and nothing. We won't even talk about how much I paid them, but nothing. Stuff would come off, but then a few months later, it would go back on. And there was so much that I didn't know about credit that I had to learn. For instance, I had to learn, if you move, you have to update your address with the credit bureaus as well as you do with your post office or your driver's license. Because if you don't, then anything that somebody reports, they can report that on you, and you can't dispute it because your address and your name is attached to that place. And I didn't realize that. So I started in the process of me looking for help. I came across this ad, and there was a guy. His name is Lonnie Haynes, and he was on TikTok. Yes, I know, TikTok. I'm a TikTokaholic. And he was on there talking about credit, and he was like saying something about if you're tired and you've tried everything and you want to change, drop change in the comments and I can help you out. So I did. I am so glad that I did, because not only did I find a company that would fix my credit and actually do what they said they were going to do and it not revert back, I also found a company that if I share the information, I could get paid for it. Who knew that could happen? So I became a credit specialist, and I am a financial consultant. I help other people get out of the mess that they've made for themselves, like I made for myself. I can't blame anybody else but myself because I put me in that spot. So that's why I say it like that. I don't mean to belittle or talk down to anybody. Please know that. But I know this because I put myself in that position. So I wanted to help, and I think I was able to, I know I was able to turn my life around. So now I want to help you. Just want to say, I hope you stick with me. I hope you get some value out of this. And remember, Q-Dee talks. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.